Hello, folks out there. This episode of the podcast is partnered by Audible. Greg, you know what I love about Audible?
What do you love about Audible,
I
John?
don't have to pick up a book anymore and carry it around with me. In fact, I carry it around in my phone, which is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. They literally keep thousands of titles right on your phone, accessible at any time when you're driving, when you're cooking, when you're mowing the lawn, changing a diaper, doesn't matter. It's all right there at your fingertips, John. They've got podcasts, they've got lectures, they've got some like health and wellness and like fitness series on there that if you just are looking for something to fill that gap, like you're not getting into a book right now, it's all there for you, man.
If you're a member, Greg, what's cool about it is you get 3 titles per month. The first one, you can pick whatever you want. Like I've said, I'll probably start hitting up some of those health and wellness books. And then what's awesome is they have 2 Audible exclusives. Exclusives, folks. You can't get it anywhere else.
It's true. That is very true. So if you guys want to get on the Audible train, you can go to audibletrial.com/JATG. That stands for Johnny and the Greg. Hook yourself up with a 30-day free trial. No promises, no nothing. If you don't like it, which I can't imagine you're not going to like it, you can cancel at any time. But the great thing about that is the books you get during your free trial, or if at any time, those books are yours. Like you get to keep them. You can listen to them nonstop, anytime, all the time.
Sounds like a deal to me, man. So if you guys are smart, like I know you guys are, because you already listen to this podcast, sign yourself up, guys. What do you got to lose? It's 30-day free trial, and it's books, it's knowledge. Gotta drink it up.
It is. So one more time, it is audibletrial.com/JATG.
Boom. Johnny and the Greg back again. We have a guest. So excited. Greg.
It finally happened, John.
It did.
We've been teasing this for well over a month. We finally got the chef. Chef Chris was able to clear up his schedule and come on and chat with us. Even when we hit that 1 hour mark, I was like, do we end it? And they're like, no, let's keep going. So we kept going. So we got a big show for you guys today.
Yeah, big show. 2 hours, but believe me, guys, it's good. We go through a little bit of the chef's history, kind of what gets him going to be creative. He's very, very cool guy. And then the later hour, I felt like we got to know him on a personal level. He's going to help you with burger recipes that you can do on your grill, chicken recipes on your grill. That's at the last hour. So you have to buckle in. I'm talking to you, Marshall. You have to buckle in and listen to this for 2 hours. It was a great time. I had a great time. So what's his last name? Because I'm going to mess that up.
Oh, we were just calling him Chef Chris.
Yeah.
He's at Cocos in Oconomowoc.
Yes.
And I'm looking on my phone because I know I want to say Ghobrial, but I know that's not it.
So we'll just say Chef Chris.
Yes, please.
At Coco Steakhouse.
Hit it.
Yeah, I will. Hello, everybody out there. Thank you so much for listening. Wherever you are, however you're listening, we appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. It would really help us out. Greg, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing all right, John. How are you?
I'm excited, Greg, because we actually have another guest, and this is a guy we've been trying to get on for a while.
It's happening.
Yes. Greg, who do we got?
We have Chef Chris with us today. So a little bit of background on why I wanted to have him on. And Chef Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
So it was back in April for my birthday dinner. We have heard of Cocos in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin for a long time, and it's pretty close to where we live. And she's like, what do we want to do for your birthday dinner? And the thing about April is that it could be great weather or it could be shitty weather. It's one or the other. And so you pretty much got a plan to dine inside, like going outside, just it could go bad. So we're trying to think of different places, and she's like, well, do you finally want to try Cocos? And I was like, ooh, yeah, I do. So we got a group of our friends together and we went out, and it was to date the best steak I have ever had. Um, and so I was like, oh man, I wonder, I've been wanting to get a chef on the show for a while anyway, but I had met Chris even before that, I think in February. There
Correct.
was a Bloody Mary walk around in Oconomowoc, like an outdoor community event. And I just thought you were a really cool guy. You presented everything really well. And it was one of those things where I'm like, he's handing out Bloody Marys, which to me, and my mistake, I thought that would just be like some schlub's job to, some like low man on the waiter totem pole at a restaurant to be like, you're going to go freeze your butt off and hand out candied bacon, jalapeno poppers, and Bloody Marys to the people as they walk by. And then he just started talking. I'm like, dang, you sound like a chef. And he goes, well, I'm the head chef here. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So yeah, with that and the great steak we had, and I think we had talked about it, and I just shot him a link because we had mentioned Cocos on that show, and I was like, I want to promote them, just tag them in. It ends up that we have like 27 mutual friends or something on Facebook, so I just took a shot and just friended him and contacted and said, what's your tag? He listened to the show and said, I'd love to come on. I'm like, yes. So a couple months later, a couple reschedules, and here we are.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that was a long story or a short story that I made really long. So Chris, I mean, you're the head chef, or is it chef de cuisine? Is that how you say it?
So I'm the executive chef, general manager, and managing partner for Coco Seafood and Steakhouse.
And how, take us through kind of your career track. How do you end up there?
I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia. So
Nice.
literally right in the Blue Ridge Mountains, pretty much moonshiners all around us.
I have family that hails from there. I know it well.
Yeah. I think I actually
hang on, Chris,
are we the moonshine?
Are we West Virginia Mountaineer guys, or are we Appalachian State?
Appalachian.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah. No, our families would war because
we're kind of more Virginia Tech Hokies and
okay.
That's what we are.
All right.
We're Virginia Tech people.
Sounds good.
But Appalachian State's pretty close by, and a lot of people go there.
Yeah. All right. So I'm sorry. So I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, you're totally fine. So my grandfather was a chef in New York City growing up. My family lived down in Virginia. They finally moved down, and so Sunday nights was always get around the table with the family, have a big family dinner, and everybody would cook. So I grew up in a multicultural family where my dad was born and raised in Cairo, Egypt. So I had
really
food. Yep. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So anyway, back in the day, you could still actually get on top of the Great Pyramids and have lunch. So you can't anymore because of the massive amounts of erosion that's going on with them. But
did you do that?
I have never been back to Egypt.
Never.
Unfortunately,
okay.
Just I think everybody was too busy and never had the time to actually make that journey back to Cairo.
Yeah, it's not good there now, right? It's not like a place you want to really.
Yeah, from my understanding, it's not very, great place to travel right now.
Yeah. Okay. So dad's from Cairo, Egypt.
Mm-hmm. My mom's family is Hungarian German. Oh, so we kind of grew up in a huge melting pot of international cuisine.
Yeah.
Especially with my grandfather being a chef and kind of getting to know from him exactly how to use food, how to grow food. We had plenty of gardens. So just getting to really kind of know what food pairs with what, how it goes together, and using the different ethnicities to actually put dishes together.
Yeah. And mix that in with some Southern cooking kind of, because
absolutely.
That's some good stuff. That's what I learned from Southern cooks.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff, because I actually went to school at Johnson Wales University in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay. Was there for 2 years where I met my lovely wife. And she's actually our pastry chef for Cocos.
Oh,
Um,
yum.
so we, kind of a dynamic duo, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But so after Charlotte, I went to Denver, Colorado, and was in Denver for a while. I was also in Washington D.C. at the Mandarin Oriental under Eric Zaboyd, who was the chef de cuisine at the French Laundry for 9.5 years under Thomas Keller.
Okay.
So moved back to Wisconsin because my wife was originally from Milwaukee, and been here ever since for the past 16 years now.
Wow.
Nice.
It seems like you would have, I just can't imagine, like, as a child, all of these different flavors that are coming into your house, like with all the different backgrounds of your family. That had to be just like, what are some Egyptian foods that like everybody should give a shot at? I can't even think of an Egyptian food that I would want to try.
So you've heard of stuffed grape leaves or dolmas?
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
Okay. So Greeks originally invaded Egypt and took over Egypt, right?
Right.
So when that happened, they brought the dolmas with them. So it's basically a grape leaf. And what we did back home is it's beef and rice, and you roll it up real nice and tight, and then you braise it basically in chicken stock.
Okay.
So we would take that and then put it inside of pita, and then we get this beautiful goat feta cheese that you would brine and put a little cayenne pepper and garlic into it and let it brine in there so it just becomes super intense and flavorful. And you just stuff everything inside of a warm pita pocket. And that was like one of my fondest childhood memories, is sitting around rolling domas with my parents and, everybody just eating dinner and just going to town on it.
Was that one of those moments where you knew, like, okay, I want to do this full time. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, when did your love affair begin?
My love affair actually began in high school.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I was very athletic. Played a lot of sports, soccer, football. Wound up getting too many concussions, so I couldn't play anymore.
Okay.
So that's when my grandfather, I spent more time with him and started cooking a little bit more with him almost every couple of days, and really on Sunday after church would go over to his house and basically just sit there and make dinner for the entire rest of the family for the evening. So every Sunday night, I mean, he's pretty much my inspiration of how I got into cooking, and my grandmother making all the different desserts at the end of the night on Sunday nights. And then during the week being at home and, my father making Arabic food and, even my mother making some more of the Hungarian food and German food. It really kind of inspired me to continue on down that path and keep growing what, the flavors that I had gotten used to.
So growing up, when you had friends over, I mean, were they kind of like, "Damn, Chris, where's the biscuits and gravy?" I mean, were they kind of like, "What's going on?"
Pretty much, but like all of my friends, when they came over, they're like, "What is this?" And I explained it to them. They're like, "Okay, like give it a try." And they would try it, and they're like, "Can we come over every Sunday?"
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, absolutely. So, we'd have like, 15, 20 people over at the house between my brother's friends and my friends and my grandparents and my parents and their friends. So it was always a wonderful experience in my childhood to sit down, especially on Sunday nights with the family.
Yeah. So when you knew in high school that's what you wanted to do, did you, like, I don't know, did you like go to your local Applebee's and start learning how to do that, or did you go right to like culinary school and start that up?
No, I went right into culinary school after I graduated high school. So I went into Johnson Wales at Charlotte, North Carolina, which is one of the top-rated programs in the country, along with the Culinary Institute of America. They flip-flop like number one, number two every year, and have huge culinary battles between the students when they do a lot of the culinary competitions. So went there, really got into it, and just kind of basically dove headfirst into studying about how food pairs with each other. Not only that, but just actually how to run a restaurant business itself. So it's more than just about food and flavor. It's also about how to successfully run your restaurant business and how to continue to inspire and grow and become a better chef, and giving you the fundamentals to do that kind of stuff.
Was there
So
Was there a tryout for it? Like, did you have to try out? Did you have to prepare a dish in front of like a group of people to see, like, yeah, you have what it takes. Come on in.
No, culinary school is basically pretty much open to anybody wanting to come in because, like
Okay.
I said, it's like entry level. They start to teach you exactly how to do things, from making stock, sauces, soups to butchering, to actually, doing inventory management, all that kind of stuff. So it's a
Okay.
foundation layer. Really, Johnson Wales gave you the basics. And where most of your and my experience coming from is actively working in restaurants and progressing your way up. Even after I graduated with a degree, I was still working in kitchens as a dishwasher.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have to work your way up. And a lot of people think that they graduate right from culinary school, they can go and open up a restaurant. Now, that might be true if you have experience and if you've been doing it a lot longer than I had at that point. Um, but the thing is you still have to put your dues in and work your way up through the kitchen ranks and actually progress from there. So
It's interesting. I have a background in education, and I've had a couple kids that did want to go that culinary route. And I was teaching in like Milwaukee suburbs, like Waukesha area kind of schools and things like that. And so the best thing I could tell that we could find was like WCTC. And I'm
WCTC has a great program for their
and
students.
that's all I had to go on. Like what you're saying these other schools, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the best I could say is start there. And I think that's what a lot of people they don't know the educational background of what would go into like actually becoming a chef, other than what like we see with like celebrity chefs.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching it was a Charm City Cakes, so Duff, and him
Mm-hmm.
actually talking about his education, like he went to culinary school, and then afterwards went to pastry school, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, is that like a bachelor's and then went on to a master's in pastry? Is that how that works, or is it more a specialization piece, or
Sure, they
you
have
know?
different programs. You have associates, bachelor's, and then on from there you can get different specialties. Like I have my bachelor's is in culinary nutrition, so dietetics and food science and all that kind of stuff is what you can potentially open up your field to at that point, and potentially go on for a dietetic degree as a
Okay,
master's. Um, so I have my associates in culinary arts and then my bachelor's in culinary nutrition.
got it.
So, but a lot of people, what they don't understand is even though you go to school, a lot of people are actually self taught and have actually never gone to
Mhm.
a culinary school to begin with. It is totally possible for somebody to go ahead and just start off as a dishwasher, work their way through prep cook and all that kind of stuff, and start getting
Mhm.
onto the line and actually cooking with people, and doing those kind of progressive steps in order to become a chef and developing their flavors by learning from other chefs and them teaching them what they know and just basically using that as the school itself.
That's interesting because even amongst that education piece, I still get the feeling, and maybe a lot of other people do too, that there's this like master and apprentice kind of
Yeah.
feel in a kitchen.
Right.
Um, and that, eventually the apprentice can strike out on his own to become a master or what,
Mm-hmm.
or, that kind of idea. Um,
Absolutely.
and I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'm so many people, I'm fascinated by like the chef business. And I know it's because of things like the Food Network that kind of
Mm-hmm.
put that in front of my face. And we've been able to see kind of the rise of the celebrity chef that seem like everyday people. Um,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say I really connect with like an Emerald or anything like that, but like I know I say his name wrong, but Guy Fieri. You
Mm-hmm.
go, oh yeah, he seems like just a dude. Or like when you're watching like Pitmasters and it's like barbecue guys, I'm like, oh, I can get down with them.
When you look at those shows, Chris, do I'm trying to. It's like when a cop watches a cop show, he goes, "That's not how it's done, man." It like do you when you watch those shows, are you kind of like, no, it doesn't work like that. No, you can't take a piece of bread, Chef Ramsay, put a girl's head in there and call herself an idiot sandwich. You can't do that.
Oh, that's some. We were going to talk about that kind of the
Yeah.
culture that they lead us to believe
Right.
happens.
I think that gets along into the lines of a little bit of an HR nightmare.
Yeah,
in
I
itself.
would hope so.
Nowadays, back in the days when I first started cooking, yeah, that happened a lot.
It did.
Absolutely. I've actually had lines where when you hear someone say duck, you duck because there's a saute pan coming down the line.
Oh man. No
We've had,
shit.
chefs just sit there and literally take your plate and shove it right back into your chest and saying, this is not what I showed you how to do. To the point where they literally just berate you until you just break down and start crying.
Okay, is that because of the? I kind of feel like this is like some sort of like okay in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s in football that was what was considered that's how you learned football was a coach would grab you by the face mask and tell you what you did wrong and now it's like nowadays it's you don't have to do that anymore you can actually just talk to them and explain to them hey I need you to get here when this comes up so
Correct.
is that how it kind of in the 70s and the 80s and through the line of I don't know when it first started master versus apprentice or however you're learning
Sure.
was that just people well I was taught that way that's why I'm throwing a saucepan at somebody or is it
I
just
think,
the asshole
I think it could be a little bit of both, but I think
okay
a lot of people that, originally the whole mentality is before I can teach you is I got to break you down to see how far
oh
it goes till you break down.
Mm.
And then I can build you from there. So they can try to find their strengths and weaknesses and, realize, really weed out the people that don't want to be there, and really for the people that actually do have a passion for cooking. Now, that does not happen in today's kitchen anymore. At least I hope not. It does not happen in my kitchen. Uh, my crew is, for the majority, has been with me since day one.
ooh
Um, so
great
we've actually have a really super strong team, and a lot of the guys, we've taught. We basically started 2 months before we opened, working actually in the kitchen with the guys and having them cook steaks after steak after steak after steak, just so they can just repetitively hit the same mark that we're looking for consistently every single time. I have one of my guys that when he first came in, he came back from the army and he used to cook before, was out, from in the army for like 4 years, 4 or 5 years or something like that, and wanted to get back in. The good, he never heard of a scallop before.
a
And I was
scallop
like, a scallop,
okay
all right, and could not cook a scallop to save his life. Probably within like 2 months, he was literally cooking some of the best scallops I've ever seen out of a line cook.
okay
So I have
Nice.
like full confidence that like, when you build your team, if you do it in the correct way and a respectful way, they will respond back to you by actually coaching them and working right next to them side by side.
I I I can pretty much speak for Greg on this we both agree with that
Mm-hmm.
um you said something I thought was kind of interesting where you said they had the mentality of breaking people down so they could build them up. But I'm wondering how many of those people that had a love for cooking that were like, I love cooking. I don't like getting yelled at and looking to like duck when I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing. So
Right.
how many great chefs or could have been that left simply because they just didn't have the approach that you have now where it's like, look, man, like I'm imagining that guy who didn't hear about what a scallop was, I'm sure he would have been berated and felt like an idiot like back in those days.
Sure.
So I think that's speaks well to the way you're creating a culture there, and that's great. And that brings me to my next question was basically what do you love most about being a chef?
I'm going to actually refer this one back to Greg here. Greg, you were talking about how you like to be a teacher, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what I love about being a chef. I like to teach people. I like to actually
Nice.
get them to learn the product. I get a lot of joy out of actually spreading my knowledge to other people. And not only that, but what I do now is I really like to get out on the floor and talk and get to know who my guests are coming in every day and realizing their likes and dislikes. Because if they don't like something and there's not a good response, I could really love foie gras, but everybody else that's coming in could hate foie gras. So why would I put foie gras on my menu?
Right.
Hmm.
So this allows me to do that kind of stuff and actually develop a strategic plan on how to operate and run our restaurant. But it's really getting down to the essentials of knowing your ingredients, partnering with local farmers. Right now we're just picking up Ingersoll Farms out of Sussex. We have Stonebank Farms right out of Stonebank down the road from us that we just picked up. Pink Teepee Farms, they do a lot of our microgreens and honey and wild foraging, and they partner with Source in Nature. They actually go out and do all of our morels and chanterelles and chicken in the woods, hen in the wood mushrooms, the fiddleheads, the ramps that we get in all throughout the spring and into the summer. So we look at how can we partner with the people next door to us and actually make a better and greater community from within the restaurant. And that's what I really kind of pride and enjoy myself in, is being able to be a part of the community within the restaurant.
That's great. Can you kind of, for those listeners out there that don't really understand, why is that so important to get to your local farmers? Like, why not you get it off of explain to them. I know why you would. It makes sense to me. You always want fresh food. You want to build a community. So I understand that. But what's the nitty gritty? Like, what are the reasons?
Well, you develop local relationships, so whenever somebody needs something, you can help them out. But realizing those local farmers in itself is, you're getting some of the freshest food because it probably just came out of the ground either that morning or the night before or the day before.
Right.
And really just partnering with them to actually be sustainable, and you know where it's coming from. You know exactly what's in their ground, basically. You have a friendly space that delivers it to your door every single time. And you have the freshest ingredients possible. I mean, just small local farms are, building a livelihood for these families that are basically dependent upon these farms and them being successful. So why not use a great product that's right in your neighborhood or within your state that's right down the road?
I couldn't say it better. How would you describe your style? If you could describe it, how would you describe like your cooking style?
I first started off thinking that, my style was one way, but consistently I've been developing new styles and, trying to different pairings and all this kind of stuff. And I really like to say it's kind of a little bit more modern rustic, with staying true to what the ingredients are for what they are and not going above and beyond, and keeping true and keeping it simple flavors, but elevated in an elegant way.
I'm starving.
Oh, John, I should send. Chris sent me a picture. Was it last night? Bison prime rib.
Oh
God.
yes.
Yeah, he sent me that picture.
Don't be afraid.
Like, oh my lord.
Okay, it sounds like I need to get onto some sort of a text thing that
Facebook.
you got, so that we can definitely promote that on our page. Like,
absolutely.
There was one thing that blew my mind, Chris, and it's going to lead into my next question.
Sure.
I heard Gordon Ramsay say once at a show, and I understand it's for a TV show, but he said, and I want you guys to all imagine the best meal you've ever had. And he said, now I want you to realize that whatever you guys have had, I've had better. So what's the best meal that you've ever had?
Did we lose him? Oh no.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
Going through that Rolodex.
No, going
That's
through
a
the
tough
Rolodex.
question.
It is a tough question because I've eaten at some of the most amazing restaurants across the country and all that kind of stuff. And to be quite honest, if I were to close my eyes, and the best meal that I actually have ever had would actually be sitting at my home table with my grandfather and my parents, because it's not just necessarily about the food, it's about the experience that goes along with the food.
Yeah.
And if you could actually just sit there and close your eyes and think of great memory and what does it bring back, and it just brings me back to my childhood and sitting around and sharing the stories that we have had around the kitchen table, and sitting there and eating chicken paprikash and nookedly beautiful Hungarian dishes with my grandfather, who was my inspiration as a chef and still is to this day. Um, that's like the one thing, if I were to say that this is like my last piece of food ever, would be going back to that dinner table on a Sunday night, while also looking over at the beautiful sunset from the Appalachian Mountains, but being around your family and actually having that experience. Now, as far as if I were to go out and say I had the most amazing meal here and this is where I'd actually go, I've been to the French Laundry. It's amazing. All right. I've been to Bouchon, and all those fun places. When I was working for Eric Zaboyd at Cities End and the Mandarin Oriental, that was amazing. When I was there, it was a communal kitchen. So there was 2 restaurants inside the hotel, and I got to meet the other chef there was a master sushi chef from Japan. So we shared the coolers. So I would take care of his fish and rotate the fish around for him and keep it freshly iced down. So every day for lunch, he would bring me a fresh sushi platter for just taking care of his fish. Nice. And I tell you, it was just amazing to just actually sit there and literally watch this guy just carve off beautiful slices of sashimi and just here you go, as a young apprentice, and to that point right there, just if you have somebody that cares that much about their food and how they're doing it and what their craft is, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm with Greg in terms of chefs fascinate me. I mean, there's so many. Greg and I are also big fans of the fictional magic worlds, right? And I keep picturing like this is a form of magic in itself in terms of just the right amount of ingredients, the right amount of time, the right amount of heart and soul that goes into something, the right amount of care and dedication. It just blows my mind. But I want to throw a little question at you that I thought was a good one. I cheated. I looked this one up. But in your house, Chris, what are the 4 ingredients that have to be in your house at all times? Like you got to cook with these 4 ingredients.
For me, it's great olive oil.
Olive oil?
Always got to have beautiful kosher salt or sea salt in the house.
Okay.
For me, and it's going to be different with every chef, I'm going to tell you this. And then for me, the other part is great herbs. Always having beautiful herbs to actually accent your dishes with. And the 4th one is love.
I love that. That's awesome.
It's just being able to sit there and actually experience what you have in front of you and being thankful for what you have. And I know you probably weren't looking for those exact answers.
No, you led with your heart. I love it.
But this is, something that I've truly have taken a passion in. And, if you don't have the love for it, it gets kind of difficult at the end of the day if you're doing what we do with the long hours that we put in. Always being judged and criticized, especially this day and age with, all the online reviews and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Everybody can be a Yelp critic. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things is, we get judged every day and you have to look past it and just keep pushing yourself forward and keep motivating yourself. All it can take is one bad review and it could ruin a restaurant. But if you get that bad review, how do you push past that?
Right.
And you look around to your left and your right and you realize the amazing people that you have on your team right next to you. I come home and I have an amazing wife who I happen to just be so lucky to work with as well. And being able to talk things through the day on exactly what happened and, all right, how do you fix this the next day? How do you keep pushing forward? And, it's one of those things. I have her come in and she'll critique my food dishes and she goes, hey, can you critique my pastry dishes? And, it's do this, do that. And you keep moving forward and progressing and evolving, especially with now the day of age with COVID. That was a huge impact on our restaurant community and the hospitality industry as a whole. We're still feeling the effects from it.
Yeah.
Even though the people are coming back, the markets are going crazy right now. There's so much instability with that going on. So it's just, you're keep having to evolve, and you're really keeping on your toes and keeping having to change.
Yeah. So how'd that go for you? Like, I'm sure it was devastating. It was very hard, but your restaurant survived, I'm assuming. So that's great news.
Yes. Well, we opened 3 weeks before COVID shutdown actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
So that was, that was a little wrench in the chain there for,
Yeah.
just opening up a brand new restaurant, and, lots of, humbling feedback and, reviews and all that kind of stuff, to all of a sudden being like, well, what do you do now?
So what'd you do?
I remember it was St. Patrick's Day, and I had 50 pounds of Nyman's Ranch prime corned beef that we corned in house for like 14 days. And I said, well,
Okay.
staff, are you guys hungry? Feel free to take it home to your families, do that kind of stuff. But, we sat there for a few days and said, well, how do we get through it? And I sat, and, Greg, you've been in the restaurant, and you saw,
Mm-hmm.
like, sitting at the bar, we have the big windows going wrapped around on the curb over there. And I sat there for a few days, and I just kept watching and watching, and people were just walking by and just walking by and walking by and walking by. And I said, well, I'm going to go run over to my boss's house, and I'm going to go grab his charcoal grill. So we put a charcoal grill outside, and we opened up to just people walking up, taking an order, and having to go, and, selling off our wine on the patio, and people were taking it home, and, doing carry out and to go menus, and, just kept evolving and partnering with people in the community. We partnered with our local fire department for a food drive
That's great.
that we had to go through the state health department to get approval, because it was during COVID. And we helped the fire department with 3,300 meals in 3 days off a 5-foot charcoal grill. Which then also the community was gracious enough to actually donate just a little over $6,000, even though we weren't charging a single penny for any of the
Mm-hmm.
meals, so anyone could come up and get a free meal. And that actually went to the Lake Country Fire and Rescue to go and buy reusable PPE masks that
Nice.
were made by a company in I believe it was right by Waukesha Airport. But they made reusable masks for them, so all they had to do is just drop a new filter into every time they needed to change out at cost, which was great to see the local community support from that, and how Lake Country as a whole really kind of banded together to support everybody within the community,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Awesome.
an absolutely humbling experience for just opening and seeing the support that they gave us in return for helping the community out.
That's that's awesome. That's what you wish would happen everywhere.
Absolutely.
I'll
Yeah.
say when I was
Absolutely.
there, because like I said, it was beginning of April, we were just starting to kind of really make that climb
Mm-hmm.
out of the COVID space and starting to open up more. And like there was just kind of this feeling of, like you said, community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even when we walked in, it turns out I know your doorman. And I'm like, Chip, what's up? I mean, so talking with him, and he's like, you're gonna love it here. He's like, this is absolutely great. And even chatting with him, I'm like, well, how long have you been here? And kind of having that conversation, and then that transferred like to our waitress, and she was like, oh, you're gonna love it here. And people asking questions, and she's like, I'm pretty sure we can do that. I mean, just I didn't have the feeling of like that there are a bunch of people in the back just like getting food out as fast as they can. Like let's do Fast and Furious, more plates on the table, mean more money we make. I mean, that was not the feeling at all. It was just that great community, laid back restaurant that and then the food came out, and it was just amazing. So I mean, just that great experience that I think you guys are really shooting to create, and
Mm-hmm.
you're nailing it.
Thank you. It's very humbling to hear that. It's one of those things that I want our guests to come in. I want them to feel invited and relaxed and just sit down and be able just to get away and enjoy the time that they have there, and kind of almost recreate that atmosphere of when I was at home and sitting down at a dinner table and enjoying time with your family. Because at the end of the day, family is what you got. And to me, family is everything. That's why everybody on my staff is my brother and sister right there next to me. And they all have a say in how we operate our restaurant. And I think it takes, they have some great pride in the fact that they have some ownership of how we operate and how we do things and how we run it. And they all kind of like grasp it, like, yes, this is a family. We're going to stick together. We're going to work through it. And we're just going to keep on pushing through this COVID mess.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely working, because you had mentioned that you're getting people, like, even from the Chicago area driving up. And
we had
seeking
5
you
tables
out
from the Chicago area last night.
I will be coming. I will be coming. That's happening.
Hopefully you're on that next wave of people coming from Chicago.
That's happening for sure. For sure. Hey, Chris, when you were what is a culinary Everest? Is there like, because I always think about that type of fish that if you don't cook it right, it could kill you.
So fish.
Like, it's a blowfish, right? Or spiny fish or something like that. But
yeah.
Is there anything out there that is your culinary Everest? Like, I always wanted to do this, and either you haven't had the time or you didn't go to the certain place where you could only do it, or is there something for you out there that you're like, man, I really want to cook that?
Yeah. Actually, I don't even want to go near that fish that you were talking about.
Okay.
Personally.
Hey, actually, do you know what that fish is? Just so the audience knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're actually getting into the puffer fish. There's actually, if I remember correctly, there's 7 different ones, and they're all have different amounts of actual toxin in them. But you're getting into the blowfish and the puffer fishes and all that kind of stuff. But they're a little bit different when you get down to the actual generic name of it. And I apologize, but it's actually slipping my mind right now. But it's actually, you have to train for years in order to actually use this fish, because it is that deadly. That even like the smallest amount of the wrong cut, and you could literally kill like 20 people in like literally 1/10 of a gram.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Toxin. Absolutely. Wow. But even when you eat the flesh from people that I've talked to, your mouth starts to tingle and goes numb.
Oh no.
Because even though that they've taken all the toxins out of it, and it still does have some of the toxins in the actual flesh itself, so your mouth starts to go numb a little bit.
That would freak me out.
That doesn't sound like fun at all.
You get the Novocaine throughout your mouth.
Yeah, that would freak me out. I would think, oh my god, he didn't know what he's doing. I'm gonna die.
Nope. But probably one of the coolest things I actually ever got to try was a live baby octopus.
Ooh.
So you actually have to. So they come in live off the fish tank, and you wrap it around your chopstick, and you actually insert the chopstick through the mouth to basically kill it.
Okay.
And so you still actually have the tentacles moving around in your mouth when you're chewing it. So you actually have to chew it like really, really well, because if you're not careful, one of the tentacles will actually latch on and actually shut your airway.
Oh man.
Wait, that's your Everest right there? Was doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, that's what I told you last week. So the podcast that we had last week was
Old Boy, right?
Yeah, the movies that some people hate that we love anyway. And there's a movie called Old Boy, and I believe it's a Korean film. And the actor literally, like, he doesn't use the chopstick. He, part of his character, he just literally just palms it off the plate and shoves it in his mouth. And as he's chewing it, you can see one tentacle just kind of like writhing, like it's kind of hanging out of his mouth, and it's like on his nose and stuff. And even as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, that's real. He's eating a live octopus on camera.
So Chris, were you like this? I don't know if you can see me well or not. Were you like this? You put it in your mouth, right? Were you like trying to do it as fast as you can to get it over with, or were you taking
what's
your
it
time?
taste like?
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had like grilled octopus before?
Absolutely. Calamari.
Okay.
Yeah.
calamari,
Yeah.
calamari is when you own the squid family and all that kind of stuff. So it still has that same texture,
Like
except for
rubbery.
you get a little bit of the protective slime
Oh.
from the actual octopus itself.
You're not
So it's a
making
look.
this appetizing.
It is quite an experience, but at the same time too, I would love to do it again, but I probably wouldn't.
I'll tell you what, I would try that before I do. I think it's the Icelandic pungent shark, which is like it's decayed shark, and I guess it just smells absolutely terrible.
Oh,
But it's a
Yeah.
delicacy. I believe it's Iceland, and I was like, nope, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
okay. Stop me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think we just found our episode 2 here. We all chew down on some octopus.
Well, it's interesting that, I mean, especially with kind of the food entertainment that's been on the rise for the last couple of years. I'm a big fan
Absolutely.
of the First We Feast show, Hot Ones, where it's an interview show and they're just eating like the super spicy hot wings. And to a point, and this is like, I mean, and I like spice, and I know John does too, and his wife is even
She's
better.
ridiculous.
Yeah, she's better at it than I am.
Way better than all of us.
Yes. To me, if the spice, if you're just going for straight up heat over flavor, you lost me. Like it's gotta taste good.
Yeah.
And when you watch some of those people take the hot wings, they're like, oh yeah, yeah, I think, and then they're just doing that, and you're like, you're not having a good time. Like anybody that does that on purpose, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. That's not fun food time.
It's I saw I believe it's on Netflix, and it's called Scoville.
Oh yeah.
But there's a guy, I believe it's either North Carolina or South Carolina, and he's the one that actually came up with Carolina Reaper.
Yeah.
So he decided that when they have these hot pepper eating contests, that they actually don't even get into like the Carolina Reaper, or anything higher than a ghost chili pepper.
Yeah.
And now all these competitions, they're having people that they keep winning. And so he basically took all the winners from all these different competitions and brought them to his farm. And goes,
crossbreed.
these are Carolina crossbreed Reapers that have not even been chemically broken down to actually figure out how hot of a Scoville it actually is. They got a Carolina Reaper mixed with a Scotch bonnet. And I mean, you're talking millions of Scovilles there.
Yeah.
And I mean, to the point where like some of these I'm sure if I ate one, I would have tapped out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pure insane and literally can almost kill you in itself too, because it will just burn you from the inside.
We're looking at setting up a garden this spring. My wife's like, well, do you want to get like some of those super hot, like, because they were selling Carolina Reapers at like Menards, and she's like, do you want one? I'm like, no. What would I do with that?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the Reaper chip challenge.
Yeah, no,
yeah. I'm not into that either. I wouldn't do that. I did the cinnamon challenge once, and that's enough.
No.
Yeah. Have you done the saltine cracker challenge yet?
No, what is that?
You have to eat as many saltine crackers as you can without taking a drink of water or anything.
Oh,
I think it might.
It's like
physically
in Cub impossible
Scouts,
to get past at 10.
In Cub Scouts, when I was a kid, we had to eat like 5, and then the first one to whistle like won a prize. I remember doing that. So it's just a bunch of elementary school kids like spitting crackers on each other because we're all like, and it's not working.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of like, these California Reapers and stuff, what's a challenging ingredient for you?
Challenging ingredient for me that I would say is actually the most challenging is spending enough time with my family. Is one of them. But really, actually, peppers. Honestly, peppers, because there are so many different types of them. There's so many different heats. And literally, it's just one of those things. It's like you can't always use peppers because not everybody's always a huge fan of it.
Mm.
Right.
Another one for me is, mushrooms.
Yes.
I love mushrooms. Oh my gosh. And you can go out and, that's why I had people that go and wild forage for me, because I would be the one that would pick the one that's like, see you in 7 days on a weird trip. Because that would be me in the woods.
Okay, I'm down for that, but
Yeah, I'd actually be up for that, Chris.
see it.
I picked one up and I was like, this kind of looks like this. And I, held it up to my phone, took a picture while I was out hunting, and I texted it to my buddy Brian who owns Source in Nature. And I was like, found a bunch of these. What are they? He goes, put them down, wash your hands. Like really well. He goes, it's the see you next Thursday one. So he goes, you will be out for like 7 days.
Wow. See, and mushrooms are challenging for me, like even when I'm cooking at home, because I'm not a big mushroom fan. But my wife loves them, my daughter loves them, and they're just like, "Are you going to do anything with mushrooms?" And I'm like, "I don't want to." and I mean, we're just using store bought, whatever they got, by the pound.
Sure.
But even when it's early spring, the morels I think come out, or late spring. I mean, when people are going nuts over those, and do you want to go out and we'll go to a restaurant like Coco's and have some? I'm like, no, that's unless you like drown them in bourbon and everything else. I mean, I'm really not into them.
They do have an acquired taste to them. Besides everybody saying, it's like the most expensive mushroom you can find right now. I mean, there's years where it's $20 a pound, and there's years that I've seen it $45 a pound.
Yeah.
And then if you get into where you get dried morels, it's like $200 a pound.
Really?
Yeah. Because right about 5 pounds of fresh mushrooms when you dehydrate is roughly about a pound of dried mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, we just finished up morel season here. People are still finding some of them. Found some pretty big ones this year. I think they found a 2.2 pound morel this year. But morel season's winding down. Ramster and fiddleheads are done. So we're actually heading into the rest of mushrooms right now. So we've been seeing a lot of golden oyster mushrooms coming in. We've been featuring that on some of the dishes that we've had lately. And then I think we're going to be heading into hen of the woods and chicken of the woods. And chicken of the woods, I will tell you, it does taste like chicken.
No kidding.
Like if you imagine like pan frying it up in butter, closing your eyes, it literally tastes like fried chicken.
Wow. So what do you do with that? Do you just use it as like a side, or would you like do like a vegan stir fry with it or something?
Yeah, we use it like as an accompaniment to actually go along with stuff. And it also, if you pair it with like lobster or crab and you close your eyes, it actually will take on almost that lobster and crab flavor. Huh. So it's actually
have you served that? Have you served that as like a vegetarian meal?
Yeah, absolutely. You can.
Do they get pissed because they think it's chicken?
No. You don't hide it from them.
But how would a vegetarian know what chicken tastes like?
Absolutely. It's one of those things we've done, lots of different mushroom dishes for, vegetarians and vegans.
I think I found the first culinary paradox.
I think you did.
Hey, what are your favorite foods? Like mushrooms, you love mushrooms, but
love mushrooms. I'm a big sushi guy, to be quite honest. I love sushi. I mean, just the simple nature of what it actually is. Everybody has a misconception is what is sushi? Yeah. And everybody's like, no, it's the rice.
Oh, really?
So the rice that you actually use is sushi rice. So that is actually what sushi actually basically is. And it's the fish that accompanies it. So it's all based off the rice. So how you were talking about master and apprentice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In their world, it takes years
before
the apprentice can actually even cook or touch the rice.
Really? I had no idea. So you're saying when it comes to sushi, it's all about the rice. It's not about. So wait a minute. So are you saying sushi is like cake and the fish or the toppings is like the frosting.
Correct.
Wow. I never, my wife is going to be blown away because she's a sushi snob.
My first sushi experience was with John and his wife.
Yeah.
And I think I was 28, 29.
They don't
And
do
I
that
was-
in Wisconsin.
And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, and it was just because of the family I grew up in and where it was biscuits and gravy and as much meat as you can pile on a plate.
Burnt steak.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it was like, which was still, I mean, Southern cooking is good cooking.
And
But
don't get
you
me
bet-
wrong, that beautiful cornbread.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Oh
In a
my
chili?
gosh.
Oh,
Yep.
But you mentioned
Absolutely.
sushi to them, and they're like, "Fuck you! No, we're not doing that." I mean, they're like, "What are you doing?" And so, but when I had it, I was like, "Oh yeah," I can't remember the place where you took me to. I was like, "Okay, that wasn't bad." And then we started to really get into it,
survive.
and then
Sure.
getting I lived, and then getting good sushi, and then going other places where you're like, "That's not good sushi," and figuring
the
that
gas station.
gas station
That's
sushi.
probably not the best place to get sushi.
Yeah.
No,
Speaking
but I mean,
of gas station sushi, is there any foods that you just refuse to have in your fridge or eat? Like McDonald's? You don't do a McDonald's, do you? Are you like, what the fuck is this?
unfortunately, my 5-year-old, it's like
Oh yeah,
cook her
Tappy
the best.
Meat.
I can cook her the best mac and cheese in the world. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but we have to have Kraft macaroni and
Yep.
cheese in the house.
Get the blue box. Yeah.
You got to get the blue box, and it's
What
just
is it
like,
with that?
wait.
What is
I don't
with
know.
that? 'Cause
I
I've
don't know.
tried to do it too, and Gwen is like, no, this isn't what I.
Yeah.
This
I've
isn't
even
the-
looked up ways to like doctor it up and make it decent. And when I do it, the kids are like, no, not gonna touch it.
God, I don't understand what it is.
Well, and I know I feel this. I mean, and I do consider myself a pretty good cook. I've made some pretty good things, and I'm proud of what I do. But when if I spend a lot of time on something and serve it to my kids, and they're like, no, I don't want that. Like, I don't like that. You've never had it before. Like,
Mhm.
you got to, I can't imagine what that's like for you. You're like, this is
Oh.
what I do for a living.
Living.
People
Listen, you
pay
little
me
shit.
lots of money to do this, and you're like, no, I'm not touching that.
Yeah. No, she is she loves to bake, and she's getting in the kitchen with us and doing that kind of stuff. And she already picked up when I call for them to come pick the plates up to take it out to the table, and say service. And so my wife and I were having coffee about a month ago, and all of a sudden from the back room in my daughter's bed, you hear service, please. And we're like, did she just say service? And we walk into the room, and she's like, yeah, can I have some juice, please? So she was literally calling for us to come back.
Well, hey, at least she
To
said
go get
please,
her.
Chris.
Exactly, But it's just like, I need to bring you on a Friday, Saturday night to help me run the line.
How old is she?
She's 5.
5. Okay.
Yeah.
Mine is 2. So actually, she's gonna be 3 next month. But yeah,
Oh, they're so much fun.
they are. It's a blast. I
It is.
lean on Greg heavily. I call him up usually probably every other week and go, okay, this is happening. Is this normal? He's like, yep, you're good.
That's my oldest is 16. And what's fun, and you'll both get into this, but yeah, cooking with your kids or like watching them. Like I suffered through some stuff, like when she wanted to start making us breakfast, and she's like,
Oh,
and she got, first thing was pancakes. She's
Mhm.
like, I got really good at pancakes, but Dad, I know you like bacon, so I put bacon bits in them, and I'm like, fantastic.
thank you.
But you suffer through that, and now she's gotten pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
she'll make dinner for us at least once a week. I mean, because
Awesome.
I don't like, that's been great, and I'm trying to do that. My son has not tapped into that yet, but
Yeah.
but my
Yeah,
other
wait-
dog is starting to do
Wait
stuff.
till you get to the point where they're like, I don't like broccoli. Really? Because you just ate a bunch of it last night.
Yeah.
I don't like broccoli. I want something else. And you're just like,
Yeah.
oh, man. Okay.
All right, Chris, my wife will be extremely upset if I don't talk to you about your wife and her pastries.
Absolutely.
I didn't know about this, so this is all
Neither
stuff
did
coming
I.
off the top of my head. I'm a cupcake snob. Does she make good cupcakes?
He makes great cupcakes.
Yeah. Okay,
that's
just
probably why I have this
walk me
belly on
through
me.
one so I can have some sort of a taste orgasm here in my mouth.
All right, instead of a cupcake, can I do something a little different for you?
Go for it. Yeah,
And this
absolutely.
is actually what you can get at Coco's right now.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So everybody loves creme brulee, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So a little story behind this. She does this every year for Christmas. It's a Tuxedo creme brulee.
All right.
You know, so when everybody was asking for creme brulee, I said, "Hey, we're gonna need a creme brulee." And she's like, "You don't have to say it. I already know which one you're talking about." But it's this beautiful milk chocolate ganache,
Ooh.
and you set it at the bottom. And then once it actually gets set, you put the vanilla bean custard on top of it.
Yeah.
And then you put your sugar on it, and then you sit there and you start to caramelize while you're rotating it. And my favorite part is just to watch the little fingers of caramelized sugar running down the plate and running around. And then to the point where you're just like, that really hurts because I just put my finger in the sugar and it's molten. And then, just watching the complexity of actually how the layers actually go in and like how it just is just every little bite. If you try one layer, then you try the next layer, and then you try another layer, just the complexity of it on how it's different. And then when you actually scoop the whole thing and you actually get the whole layer of all three layers, you're just like putting it together is just, it's almost like romance in a glass.
That's awesome.
So-
That sounds I'm coming to Coco's for sure.
Well, I was
That's happening.
just thinking, John's coming up beginning of August because we're going to the Joe Rogan show.
Yes.
Okay.
So I bet.
So let's go to fucking Coco's, Greg.
Sometime that weekend, I think we could probably break that out.
We got to do that.
Although they're booked out their door, from what I hear, we'll have to make some reservations.
I will tell you this right now. Let me know the date, and I will have Cocos One, our courtesy vehicle, come and pick you guys up, bring you to the restaurant, and take you guys home.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That is awesome, sir.
So you're staying over that night.
Yeah, that'll be a great night. Thank you, man. That's awesome. That's
Absolutely.
awesome.
Absolutely.
Greg,
So-
any other questions?
Oh, I have a ton. You bogarted all the questions.
I've been totally fogging it up.
Well, because I have questions of my own. I haven't done a real good reverse sear yet. And I want to know, how do I do that?
Greg, hang on 1 second. Yes, because that's where I wanted to go. Anything for Coco, because now I think we want to get into how do we make things better in our house.
Sure.
So
absolutely.
Any specials? Why should people go to Coco in the next couple of months? Any new any new dishes that you're experimenting with or you want to work with or?
Sure. We are currently actually in the planning phase for the summer menu.
Okay.
So we're doing a little bit of an overhaul. I'm actually looking at adding wild game on to the menu as well.
Nice.
So getting in some rack of elk.
Nice.
We did the bison prime rib for special this weekend, but actually adding on like a good bison ribeye. We're also looking at this one actually sold really well. Was red stag, so it's red deer out of New Zealand.
Okay.
So absolutely beautiful. It's a member of the venison family. So
not
it's,
the Jack Daniels red stag.
No. Although I can bring a bottle of that out at the same time. If you'd like.
Oh, syrup. No, thank you.
So we're doing some really cool things with that. I am currently trying to get a source. We have a lot of people from Florida coming up and that stay in the Oconomowoc area and Lake Country area, and everybody keeps asking for hog fish. And
what's a hog fish?
It literally looks like a hog.
No shit.
A wild hog. Yep. So look it up on your phone right now, Johnny.
I am.
So it literally has a snout that comes out, and it actually has the tusks coming out from the top and the bottom.
Excuse me, did you say tusks?
Correct. There's teeth, but it literally looks like a hog's tusks.
From Key West.
Correct.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
It's a member of the snapper family.
And it's
Oh,
huge, yeah.
damn. Yeah, this is a big boy. Okay.
Yeah. So we
For
get them
people
in
looking
every
at
once in a while.
YouTube, I think that's a hog fish.
Correct.
Yep.
Hey, wow.
So we get them in from time to time, but I'm trying to work on a continuous source to actually bring it up here with our seafood monglers. Because most of the time when they're down there, they're actually out of Key West area and down into the Florida and down into the islands there. They are actually spearfishing for them.
Oh, yeah.
So there's not
Do that one
always
day.
a sustainable source on actually getting them. But however, if you're down there all the time, everybody's buying them up because they're delicious. I mean, they got this beautiful light and buttery texture to them, and really take on flavors really well, like using some island spice with it. So it's using the pimento peppers along with a little bit of sweetness from the brown sugar cane, and using that in there along with some other herbs and spices that we do.
Jesus
But
Christ,
it's a
I'm
very,
fucking
very
hungry.
versatile fish, and it really takes on with like a lot of people do the salsas with them. So pineapple or mango salsas
Really?
are very, very common with them down in Florida, and pairing it with jasmine rice or a couple different other grains like couscous or quinoa.
The fish is one of those things. I mean, it's pretty amazing because, like, being raised pretty much born and raised in southern Wisconsin, like, if you said you're going out for fish, that means you're going out for cod or walleye or just like a Friday night fish fry.
Yeah.
And then actually finding out, like, the first time I had like halibut or the first time I had like a real meaty kind of fish, and they're like, no, this is like it has the consistency of a steak, and you're like, no, fish is supposed to be flaky and white. They're like, no.
So I think, did you see the Opa that I brought in
Yeah,
from Hawaii?
thing. Yeah.
Here,
Two-arming this huge
I
fish.
will pull this off my phone for you, Johnny. So Opa is literally, I call it a cross. Yeah, Opa, O-P-A-H. So it's a member of the moon and sunfish family. So we had a 85-pound fish flown in overnight from Hawaii.
Look at this thing, John.
See if I can get it in the frame here.
Oh no, you get whole. How heavy is that?
That was 85 pounds.
Oh my God, that's an Opa.
That is an Opa.
Holy
so
shit.
they they ship it literally, so it came right from Hawaii, landed in Chicago, and then our seafood monglers out of Chicago, so they literally fly it into ORD, Chicago International, and then drive it up to us the following morning.
Wow.
So you're talking less than 72 hours after being caught. That is actually in our restaurant.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is amazing. The logistics of that, it's actually amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's really one of those cool things that we've actually set those parameters up that, we are getting some fish like that hog fish that we got. They literally called the boat, they went out, they caught it, literally shipped it from Florida overnight to Chicago, and then our seafood mongler drove it up to us from Chicago. And it was by the time it actually got in the restaurant, it wasn't even 24 hours old.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're getting fresh stuff. That's great. That's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
This is one of the things that Greg and I talked about, and you're like, how do you get fresh fish in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling him, most of your seafood at the store has probably already been there for, 5-6 days before you're actually purchasing it. Unless you can actually get from a reputable source, like going to Whole Foods, they have a great program and doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or going down to St. Paul's Fish Market in downtown Milwaukee, or they actually have one in right up the road here in Mcallen now. Going to Empire over in Wauwatosa. So you're able to actually get the same kind of fish that we're getting in at, a few days earlier than what you probably would find at like your local store down the road.
Wiggly or something.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Greg, I'm going to hand it over to you. Everybody that's listening now, this is that time where if you're just a little bit of a chef, we're going to throw out some, like, how do you make a burger just a little bit better on the grill? Greg, you go with your questions. I've taken up all of your time. Go.
I would even put it, I would never, like, we're talking to the cooks in the crowd. Like you're that home cook and still making great stuff. Your family still loves it. And I will say that's one of the things that really got me into cooking as well, is like when John comes up and he's got his family with him and I'm out on my smoker, and it's just so much fun to bring something in that you've worked. Like maybe I was up at 5 smoking something, and then I bring it out. I'm like, okay, here we go, and to see everybody's face light up, especially like Ursula's face, his wife,
Yeah.
because I know she eats a lot of fine foods, and so if I can impress her, then I feel like I've accomplished something. So, but yeah, I mean that's like for the people that are at home, just like, you know, doing what has now been called white people taco night, which is just everything you bought from the store. I mean, how do you?
I've never heard of that.
You never heard of that?
No. What is that?
Yeah, it's taco night is just, you know, ground beef from the grocery store. You've got tortillas from the grocery store. Like you're not doing anything from scratch. It's all
okay. I'm sorry. I
like,
thought
It's
you meant
walking
it's like
tacos.
okay. I
yeah,
thought
you've got your
okay. All right. I know what
you've got like your taco packet. You're not like doing the spices yourself. You're just doing this, throwing some water in there and sprinkling on.
What I thought you meant was whatever's left in the fridge, we're just gonna throw it and make it a some sort of taco thing.
No, my mom called that casserole.
Okay, yeah, that's a casserole. All right, go ahead.
Beef and shredded carrots. What's going on? We call it stuff. I'm like, no, it's not good.
No, it's the principle of the walking taco, where you like get the Doritos bag and you throw everything, you crush it up and throw everything into the Dorito bag.
Which I found out has become huge at graduation parties.
Absolutely.
So, like, how do you make some of that stuff better? Like pick a like, what would you do if you just have ground beef? You're making burgers. What would you do?
Or add something. What would you add that anybody can add to a burger to make it better on a Friday night?
So this is one of my favorite things. I use it at the restaurant all the time. It's actually called mushroom powder.
Mushroom powder.
Yes, I've
It's
heard
a
of that.
mushroom powder. So it's mushroom seasoning.
Okay.
So it's a dehydrated mushroom that they actually pelletize with a little bit of salt into it. So it actually is using the natural MSG that is within mushrooms to actually season and give you that umami flavor that they're talking for. So that little savoriness that's in there.
What flavor did you just say it was?
Umami.
So not unagi.
No,
Not unagi.
that's something else.
No.
Shout out to friends. Go ahead.
Yeah. I didn't know you were becoming Ross over there, so
Every chance he gets. I helped him pick up a couch a couple weeks ago. Guess what he said?
That's fucking true.
As soon as we picked it up, pivot. We're going straight, John. Come on. All right, so mushroom powder.
Mushroom powder, yeah. So it actually gives you, a great umami flavor, which is another flavor that you actually get on your tongue, and it actually gives you that savoriness. So it's almost kind of like it gives you the point where you're thinking to yourself, I really want to have another bite of this, because you're just savoring it in the back of your mouth. Your mouth starts to water, and you're really just getting it just right all on your tongue.
Okay.
See, now I'm thinking about what if I were to do that in a meatloaf. Because I've been smoking meatloafs.
It goes great on everything. Even put it in your risotto.
Ooh. Okay.
All right.
Oh,
sorry, I almost lost you there.
That's all right. Hey,
great look at the ceiling.
What kind of cheese would you add to a burger?
I love Hook's cheddar cheese. So
Hook's is great.
Hook's, yeah. So I use the Hook's 5-year all the time on our burgers at the restaurant. I am just not having very much success with my child's iPad.
For those of you that are listening, his phone keeps dropping.
So,
did we lose him?
No,
he's the plug back in. We can still hear him. Go ahead.
There we go.
Yep.
I just had to, instead of doing the long ways, I had to turn it so it doesn't keep falling. So I use Hook's cheddar cheese a lot. Another one is, if you're a blue cheese fan, is Rothkay's Buttermilk Blue. Absolutely beautiful blue cheese. It's not overly pungent. It's not overly blue cheese. It doesn't have too much funk. It has that right amount of proportion of funk and flavor to it.
Nice.
Awesome.
The other one too is bacon.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. All right. So
I
We
thought that
have
was a given. I thought bacon was a given.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, your candied bacon that you had. Oh, I could have had handfuls of that.
Mhm. It's actually really funny because everybody, when we're actually making it, they come over because it's just coming right out of the oven, and I feel like as
Yeah.
soon as you open that door, it's just like herds of people come to the kitchen, like, "Is that the candied bacon?" Yes. Can I have some? No.
I actually,
Like we need it for service.
we during the Bloody Mary thing, they had poppers, jalapeno poppers, and the candied bacon, and we walked away. And one person I was with, she's like, I don't really like bacon. And I'm like, I'll trade you a popper for more candied bacon. And we made that deal. Yeah.
And to be honest, that's the same Bloody Mary that we actually do for Saturday and Sunday brunches.
See
So,
especially with Bloody Marys, because I love a good Bloody Mary.
Yeah. Me too.
It's one of those things where you see, these people that just stack like sides, or like they put a sliders on it, or a full burger, and I mean all that
or
stuff.
a little fried chicken.
Yeah, which I
Some
think
shrimp.
is fine. I mean, all those kind of garnishes are just parts of a meal are fine, but then when you taste the Bloody Mary, if it's like super thin and like no flavor to it, you're like all that stuff on top doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
You have a crappy Bloody Mary. I loved yours. Yours was actually, I think, yours was my top vote for that.
Well, we've already won 2 awards in Lake Country area for that Bloody Mary.
Yeah.
So we won the
Nice.
competition that day for Best Bloody, and then we had a throwdown with a couple other restaurants in the area.
Oh,
We took
that's
that
right.
competition.
Yep.
So
I did see that.
it's I think it's a great combination. It has that sweet and spiciness to it, but it's not overly one way or the other. It's just a perfect balance between the two of them. So a lot of people have, it's not too spicy and not too heavy on the horseradish or on the pepper itself, and it just has that great balance, and it kind of has that good harmony in it.
There was one, I don't even remember where it was, in that contest, that they were using a dill pickle vodka, and I went, "Don't do that again. That was bad."
Yeah, that doesn't
Just
sound
use
good.
straight up. Just use straight up.
I did not hear of. I didn't hear of anybody using that one, so that's kind of interesting.
I can tell you off air. I don't want to call them out because I mean they're a
no,
staff,
please don't do that.
But
I'm not
that
about
was
not about that.
Yeah. But yeah, it was bad.
They tried, didn't work.
I bet it was one of those things where they had like a case of it, and they're like, "Well, let's just get rid of it."
Yeah. This was dropped off from the vendors for free, and now we're stuck with it. We use Jones Cherry Wood Smoked Bacon. A phenomenal company. Another great one is Newski's. So they come from up north. If you want something that's like really like heavy on the smoke, they're actually a great one. So they're like, it kind of is just like when you really just open up that barbecue grill for the first time after your beautiful pork butt's done. That's just kind of the intensity that it hits you with.
Oh, nice.
As far as otherwise for burgers, I would actually have to say I love actually doing some blackened seasoning on it sometimes.
Okay,
and doing that with the blackened seasoning, and doing it with either a beautiful blue cheese or doing like a little bit of brie on top of it.
Oh,
and then finishing off with a little bit of Colonel Pabst Worcestershire sauce.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Say that one more time, please.
Colonel Pabst Worcestershire sauce.
I love that stuff. I use it all the time.
I'm not even going to try to spell Worcestershire sauce.
But
I hate actually having when people actually make me say it too, because it's just like no matter what, I can never say it right. And then doing a little bit of like pickled shallots or red onion on top of that burger.
It sounds good, Greg. Yeah. What other home meals?
Oh man,
I mean we've nailed Kraft macaroni and cheese. Like, you can't top it.
No,
I guess you can't.
Well, what's interesting is, I mean, part of part of the reason that I'm actually on TikTok, I mean, is not just because I want to keep up with my kids, but there are so many cooks and chefs on there that are just doing stuff. And my COVID hobby has been smoking, like trying to nail down Texas barbecue and really getting into that. And there are so many guys on there that are, well, women too, but that they're just, hey, here's what you do. There's one guy, and everybody's trying to get Gordon Ramsay's attention. So like they're tagging him and everything, and sometimes he responds. But it's just, people making some really good stuff. And one guy takes Kraft mac and cheese and like makes it better. And he's like, you start with this, and he's like, don't follow the recipe on the box. Do it like this, and like making a roux and things like that. And so, for anybody that's looking for creative stuff and you don't think you're a good cook, there are people on TikTok that I think they call it Cook Talk. But if you can search that hashtag, you're gonna come up with doable stuff. Like,
okay,
stuff that,
I'm not really on TikTok. I think I have one video on there because my daughter goes, "Daddy, I saw you on TikTok," because we do it for the restaurant.
Right.
And she goes, "I want to make a TikTok." And my wife's just like, "How do you know how to make a TikTok?" And she just keeps coming up and like, "Can we make a TikTok, Daddy?" And I'm just like,
you
no,
dancing?
I was gonna say, do those dancing stuff, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
So,
yeah,
it's I've seen some of those ones where they actually do have Gordon Ramsay on there. And
Yeah.
you see him just like turning around and yelling at him, like, "No, don't do that. Why are you doing this?"
call everybody a donut.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it reminds me of the sandwich that you were talking about. The
Yes,
the
idiot
shit sandwich. Yeah.
I'm an idiot sandwich. Yeah.
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 Well, I was happy to hear that like that doesn't happen in most restaurants nowadays.
I'm very happy to hear that, to be honest, that doesn't happen as much as we're led to believe that it does happen. Because I always had this idea that when you guys are working, it is a highly stressful. Actually, I have a question for you, Chris, because this blows my mind. I can't figure this out. Is there a culinary secret to timing foods? Like timing the vegetables to go with the meat at the right time so everything's hot, and like what is there a culinary secret? Please tell me there's a culinary secret.
It's a little different when you're cooking at home,
Okay.
as to when like you should start your vegetables and how big of a space you actually have, because now mind you have what most now are between 4, 5, 6 burners at your house in a common household.
Yeah.
We're cooking with 20 burners, and we have way more people cooking that. So we have about 4 or 5 people working our line on a busy night, actually cooking. So it's all about communication, because we've actually gotten it down to, you can time exactly how long each steak stays to get medium well, because when we cut our steaks, you try to stay consistent. You're ordering roughly about the same size product, so when you're cutting it down, it's your New York strips are always going to be 2 inches thick, to get the same size 16-ounce cut. So it should take exactly 8 minutes for it to get to medium rare, plus your resting time. You're adding extra like a little 5-10 minute rest onto it, or resting it longer to 15 minutes before it goes out. So the guys are consistently talking back and forth to each other, along with me at the pass, because I can be like, when are you, how far out are you on this steak? Cool. Go ahead and start coming up on the veg and start going off on the sides on this. I need it in 5 minutes. So it's kind of like an orchestra. The conductor is actually up there and like, hey, I need this, and you have to coordinate it all together.
So it's learning. It's learning each other's. It's learning. It's like you. Keep talking. I'm stupid. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's like a dance. Like everybody's got their role, and everybody's playing it out.
Absolutely, and it's the team has to function together, because if one person is out of tune in the band, the whole band sounds horrible. It's the same way in the kitchen. If one person's off on a night, you can literally just sink your whole kitchen and get behind because the one person can't keep up or something's happening. So you have to realize that that person is starting to struggle to actually then, all right, hey, you have to either move somebody around or I have to get somebody else to come in so I can jump on the line and actually help them out and dig them out of the hole. And,
Right.
you know, it's all kind of how you can, what is the best way to put it? Organized chaos is basically what it is.
Yeah.
So it's like a football play. Everybody's got
Absolutely.
their responsibility,
Absolutely.
and it can change on a dime depending on what the defense is giving you.
Exactly. You know, it also stems all the way down to the people that are washing your dishes. You know, if
Why is that?
You need pans to cook. You know, so if the pans aren't getting washed up and, you know, brought back fast enough, you know, you're slowing the cooks down because they're then having to stop cooking and then go run and help and, you know, scrub pans up so they can come back and, you know, start firing food back off. So, you know, it's a vital part. You know, the same person that makes your salads and your appetizers has got to be strong because they are setting the tone for the rest of the kitchen. So if all of a sudden they go crazy and just make a bunch of dishes up and just tries to send them out, now making sure they're 100% accurate as being fast is also important. So if they send it all out there and all of a sudden your entire restaurant gets fired off at the same time, you're talking like 60, 70 steaks, you know, at one time for one person to keep track of, which is pretty much not possible.
Yeah. I would
and making sure they're 100% right. So you really have to have your anchors in place around the kitchen. So those anchors can help support the rest of the staff that are maybe new and are still in training.
Yeah.
And, you know, working with them on speed and consistency at the same time too. So they really, without being verbal in the kitchen, talking to each other, you know, and simple as like, hey, I'm behind you. Because you don't want to turn around and get saute pan that's, you know, blazing hot, you know, and get a burn or something like that, or get a knife stuck in your back. And, you know, because it's, you know, we're doing a lot of dangerous stuff back there. I mean, you got fire, you got oil, you got alcohol from, you know, alcohol because you're using it for cooking, not because you're drinking it.
Sure.
But you know, maybe at home you are.
I definitely.
But we're also working in very tight spaces too.
Right.
So a lot of places, you know, like they show like on Hell's Kitchen and all that kind of stuff, where there's this huge area and it's open space. Not all kitchens are like that. You know, I've worked in a kitchen where you could barely open the oven and the cooler door at the same time because the two of them hit. You know, so it's one of those things where you have to be really cognizant of what's actually going around you all the time.
Yeah.
So I know we're well over an hour, so I don't want to take up too much more time.
Keep going, Greg. This is awesome.
Oh, I'm fine. Keep going.
Well, the one
I
question
have tomorrow off.
So we do a lot of movie like reviews, a lot of movie talk, stuff like that, and I do watch a lot of movies that have to do with like chefs and food. So I'm really curious, what is your favorite chef movie, and then which one would be the most realistic that you've seen?
Movie Burnt.
Oh, with Bradley Cooper?
Yes.
Yeah. Is favorite and most realistic, or?
It's favorite and most realistic because that's exactly what it's like. In the kitchens, you know, me growing up a little bit more with his actions was a little bit more old school. Like you'll see that with a lot more of the French and German chefs, like when I grew up with. And that's where you get a little bit more of like the saute pans being thrown, you know. But as you actually see the way he goes towards and moves towards the end of the movie, where they're actually focusing and they're working as a team and as a family together, that's how it is nowadays.
Okay.
You know, in the kitchens, you know, at least in my kitchen it is, and I hope it is in everybody else's too, where they all come together. But it's literally where you're having to be talking about when the Michelin comes in, that everything has to be perfect because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to come walking through the door. You know, I had a high-ranking general actually come in and eat at Coco's the other day.
Nice.
And walked in, didn't even know who he was, and then until he got up and left, and his parents were like, "Yeah, that's our son, and he's, blah 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 in the military," and I was just like, "What?"
Yeah. Wow.
So you don't know who's going to walk through that door, so you got to be 100% on the point all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Going back to everybody can cook at home, what's a chicken? What's something you could put on chicken that would make chicken ooh la la ish?
Grab a Miller Lite and shove it up the rear end and make beer can chicken.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Get
right.
a chicken thrown.
Absolutely. No, I really like using a mixture that I do is a little bit of garlic powder, onion powder, and then rub it down with a little bit of paprika. You can do brown sugar if you want, but you have to do it at a lower temp because otherwise it's going to make the rest of the chicken burn.
Would you add that in earlier or later?
No, I do it on the rub.
Yeah,
so
it's
you
all
just
rub.
have to make sure. You just have to make sure you watch that. A little bit of paprika, cayenne, a little bit of lemon zest, and then if you can get some beautiful butter and soften it and actually rub it up underneath the skin of the chicken itself.
Okay. But actually, let me go back to something. You said butter. What is the best butter? There are thousands of freaking butters out there now. And especially if you go to Whole Foods, there's like oat butter and there's coconut butter and there's like what's bullshit butter versus like the best butter you should use for like just cooking in general?
I only know of one butter, and that's regular butter.
Regular butter. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Salted or unsalted?
It's called butter.
Well, no, it all depends on what you're actually using it for. So, like the butter that we actually do for service to make our service butter is actually salted butter.
Okay.
There's different applications for when to use it, when not to use it. Otherwise on the line we're just using regular unsalted butter. And it's to me, it's with all the different variety of diets that we have out there, each of these butters now have a purpose for people.
Right.
Because now we're getting the world of food allergies and substitutions, and some people can't have this versus some people can have this or this or this or and they all have their place. But for me, that's why it's like I really have never had someone come in yet and say, "Hey, I have an olive allergy." So that's why I use olive oil a lot. It's healthy, it's nutritious, and a lot of people don't even realize it's actually great for your body to actually even just take a shot of olive oil a day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, yep. So it has so many health benefits actually to itself. Now you have to be careful with, what kind of olive oil you're buying because making sure it's not necessarily a blend. So you can actually use a blend to where you can get it because olive oil burns at a lower temp than like canola oil or like what you would put in a deep fryer. So they've now created the blends and all that kind of stuff. So you really have to kind of watch out. Like, are there, all the polyunsaturated fats and monounsaturated fats and all this other kind of stuff that they're putting into it nowadays. So that's why I like to go with a good, beautiful olive oil that we actually get in from Sogno Toscano. Comes directly out of Italy.
Yeah.
So California is also making some beautiful olive oil as well. So they have some really good olive productions out there, but unfortunately with a lot of the fires that they've had lately, some of those olive groves have unfortunately suffered.
Yeah.
And when I was there, I noticed you guys, because we're talking a lot about food, but I mean, you guys have a very impressive bar and wine list.
Absolutely.
Is that coming? I mean, are you curating that, or is that mostly? Do you have like a liquor guy? Or?
Yeah. So that is actually my partner in crime, Steve. He is my AGM and beverage coordinator. He's got a huge passion for bourbons and scotches and tequilas.
Yeah. Now you're talking.
That's
to
what
us.
I noticed was the bourbon.
Now you're talking to us.
Absolutely. And we actually just bought the space next door to us, so we are expanding. So we are actually making a bigger bar, floor to ceiling, so that way that you can actually have way more additions to the bourbon and Scotch collection that we have right now.
Nice.
We also just got in a Mcallen 65 year.
Oh,
So I mean, it is beautiful.
How much for an ounce? Do you
I
know?
believe 1 ounce pour is going for 175.
yeah.
175. Wow.
And that is not our most expensive one.
No? Have you
No.
tried those?
I have.
Yeah. And
I'm
you
lucky
drink it,
enough
do you
to
go,
actually.
Yep, that's 175.
There's definitely times it's like where I've drunk stuff before and it's like, why would anyone pay for that?
Yeah.
It's horrible. I mean, I might as well just go and drink Jack Daniels and
Right.
I'd be fine with that.
Shame on you. But go ahead.
We have a Mcallen M in right now as well, and I believe there's only 750 bottles in the world, and there's only 2 bottles in the state of Wisconsin, and there's 47 bottles only available in the United States.
And you have one of them?
And we have one of them.
Nice.
So you're looking at $350 for a 1 ounce pour.
Holy cow. For 1 ounce?
For 1 ounce.
Holy shit. I'd have to pass on that.
Yeah. But I will tell you this.
Chris, I'm actually trying to sit here and think, all right, how can I figure that out?
Oh my gosh.
I will tell you this, and I'm not a huge Scotch guy because I don't really like the peatiness.
Okay.
Mostly because of a bad experience in college and waking up and taking a drink out of a beer can and having just a bunch of cigarette butts in it.
Oh.
So that's what the peat reminds me of. And every time I just sit there and that memory comes back.
Okay.
Like,
yep. Understood.
Yep. No, not going for that. But the M and the 65 year, like, there's not a lot of peat to it. It's just very smooth. It's very well balanced. And it's just like, it's one of those ones that just makes you sit there and close your eyes.
Yeah.
Because you just want to sit there and savor each little tiny drop.
Wow. Well, Greg, maybe you and I can
split one.
Yeah, split one. 1 ounce.
We're coming in with eyedroppers. Just be like, okay, this one's mine.
I might know a guy that works there.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But it's the stuff that Steve is doing is absolutely amazing. With our resident mixologists that we have there, Dan and Luke, and Justin that we have there as well, and a few other. Rachel is a great asset. She's phenomenal with our wine selections. And we have a few other new members that are joining on as well that have become really, really strong with pairing the wine with the food. And that's something that we take pride on, is like our servers and all of our staff gets to taste everything. They have to taste the food, they have to taste the wine to actually understand what is actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
And how to pair everything.
That's a good point, because you know what? Shout out to Peter Griffin there. You know what really grinds my gears is when you ask somebody, hey, what is this? You ask them on a dish and they're like, yeah, I've never had that.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me go, all right, so should I have it then? If you've never had it, like, you work here every day, and so shout out to people that are actually in the service industry. Try all your food.
Yeah. I know you had the Flatiron Wagyu, the American Wagyu, when you came in, Greg.
Yep.
We had a whole show to it.
We did. We did
a whole show to Wagyu.
Oh,
I had no idea what Wagyu was, and Greg educated me on it.
So good.
Well, when you nailed down the date that you were coming up here, Johnny,
yes,
I will actually have A5 Wagyu flown in from Japan just for you guys. And I'll bring it in.
That's huge.
Chris, you don't have to, but you have to now because you said it. It's on air. It's true.
We do have every once in a while at the restaurant, so
incredibly generous. Thank you, sir. That's
awesome.
It
is an amazing experience, and it's one of those things. It's like You have to try it once, and that's
Yeah.
everything I
Ursula's
tell
gonna be
even our
so
staff. It's like
that's my wife. She's gonna be so pissed because she's a foodie, man. But I'll no, another time I will bring up there, and I'll have to have her try Wagyu for sure.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
But it's one of those things. It's definitely one of those things. Like, is it worth it? Yes, but it's like one of those things. It's like you have to try everything once, and that's what I tell my staff. And it's like, you may not like it, you may hate it, just because it's you're not used to the texture or something like that, or the flavor. Just some people are just like, hey, I just really, really hate seafood because I don't like the texture.
Yeah.
And especially like calamari or something like that you were talking about earlier. It's just like I can't, or like fish roe.
Right.
It's like I don't care. That's fine. I understand it. I respect it. But at least want you to know to be able to explain to a guest,
absolutely,
where to be like, hey, can you tell me about your special tonight? And they're like, yeah, it's this. Okay. Can you tell me anything a little bit more about it? What does it taste like? Any flavors that we should be aware of? And they're like, yeah, we haven't tasted any of the food here. And it's just like, that's the wrong thing that you need to be doing. So it's like your servers are out there to help and guide and create that whole experience for your guests when they're in your restaurant. And that's one of the key fundamentals that we're focusing on is, having our guests actually have that full experience from the wine and Steve's beverage program that he's got going on, and the food and desserts, and just the whole experience as a whole, and taking it all in and soaking it all in, actually just sitting there and having that experience. And that's what we're all about at Cocos.
I've never been much, or I've never been a wine guy. Like I've done bourbon, I've done like other things, and so when the wine list comes out, and I'm like, well, it looks like you have red and white, and
a
that's
blush.
as far as I go. But I mean, when you're at a nice place like Coco's, and because I'm an idiot on that. I mean, I just don't know. So I rely on that staff suggestion of like, okay, here's what I'm ordering. What goes with it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I still stuck with the bourbon one there, but
yeah, it's always a hard thing to do. It's because like a lot of people are like, well, I can't really justify spending $350 on a bottle, or but $50 a bottle. There are great wines that you can get that are $50 a bottle that you would taste right next to a $350 bottle and be like, I kind of like that $50 bottle better. But it's all about on the winemaker themselves and actually how they crafted it, and their love and attention and detail that actually goes into the wine.
Yeah. I mean, some of the championship wines that I've heard of in the last couple of years are sold at Aldi's.
Really?
Because they're like they're an Aldi brand, or they carry them, and they're like, that's a championship wine.
We have a small little grocery store around this area. It's called Fresh Market, and and they have wines for, I think it's $20 or less, and it's like this point system or something like that. And there's some really good wines for like $20.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm not. I would say I'm a little bit more of a wine guy than Greg is, but when it comes to sitting down and look, and like Greg said, like looking at a menu I'm about to have and picking the Wagyu, I would have no idea. I would think I need a red wine, but I wouldn't know what type. Would it be like a Merlot? Would it be a what's my favorite kind? I can't think of my favorite kind. But anyway,
well, it's like the questions is like, do you like dry, sweet? Do you like
exactly, yeah.
And you start getting into those, and once you start being like, yes, I like things to be a little bit more citrus. I like to have a little bit more oak, or I like to have a little bit more earthy flavor to it.
Yeah.
Or do I like having cassis and all this other stuff into it? And from there, I can tell you exactly which way we're gonna go.
Would you? Is there a good whiskey or bourbon for a steak?
Absolutely.
Yes. What?
Absolutely.
What's a really good one?
So, I actually wound up taking which one was it? I did take a rye. I did 2 different ones.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was. It was not Makers. Basil Hayden.
Okay.
So I took the Basil Hayden rye, and we wound up taking a prime New York strip, and I dry aged it for 90 days, wrapped in cheesecloth and herbs.
Oh.
And every day I poured Basil Hayden rye over the cheesecloth, and it soaks it in.
Yep.
So it becomes a rye aged steak.
That sounds amazing.
That does
so
sound amazing.
It actually infuses with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the rye turned out great. We also did the regular Basil Hayden, but I did their barrel proof Basil Hayden.
Basil Hayden.
So
that's a good one.
It actually works out phenomenal. It's the whiskey actually really does complement it. It adds a little sweetness to it. You really get that rye coming through, and actually being able to kind of taste a little bit of the grass and the grains that are within the beef itself.
I learned a lot of my cooking from my uncle, and one of the first things he taught my brother and I was it's an overnight marinade, and it's, you can't use a cheap whiskey. So I mean, and by cheap I mean you're not, it's not bottom shelf. I use Makers most of the time. So I use Makers, some Worcestershire, onions, and garlic, and then you try to do 4 hours aside, so it's about 8 hours, or just drown it and leave it overnight.
Absolutely.
And then just make that on a steak. And first off, it makes the house smell great. And then
why don't they have that for deodorant? Like, why don't they have those smells for deodorant, right?
You smell like a drunk.
I mean, now it's like no. I mean, like, why not have like steak? Like, remember that movie Michael? Where they were like, the girls were all like, he smells like cookies. Like, why wouldn't they have a cookie scent for a guy for deodorant instead of Redwood?
Old Spice is going to come up with something like that, but they're going to call it like eagle's breath or something. I mean, they're going to some kind of weird name.
I'm not going to lie. I have not had anyone to come up and be like, hey, can I smell you after a long shift of cooking all your steaks? I think I would literally.
But if you're working all day in front of the candied bacon, can't imagine you smell that bad.
When it's when you're working next to a 1200 degree grill and all the extra equipment that's 500 degrees, and
is that all the time? All the time
all
like
the time.
that? All the time. Jesus.
I think our ambient air temperature in our kitchen yesterday was 105.
Oh.
So on the really, what was it, 90 at your place yesterday? Anywhere?
It was like 92, I think it was out by us.
92. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a rough day.
But I mean,
that's all the time,
that's
right?
even with the AC like running.
Yeah.
But when you have that amount of heat in the kitchen, that's just ambient air temperature.
How are you not just like dripping sweat into the food?
All the food.
I know that sounds bad, and I know you're not. But I remember in college. I worked at a cheese factory one summer, and it got super hot. And watching these cheese makers as we're, cutting and flipping, and it's into the vat, and I'm like watching. I'm like, oh, I think he's just sweating straight into the cheese.
Chris, when he talks about that, he talked about that one other time. Don't you picture Napoleon Dynamite at that job?
Yeah, it was by far the worst job I ever had in college.
I totally pictured Napoleon Dynamite job with the chicken.
Eat the ham.
Eat the ham.
They get tang and what is it? Eggs for like
weird egg that he's like mixing
like
with
lunch.
his arm.
So are you trying to say I should take something with tang and make a dish with orange tang in it?
Yeah, and call it the Greg.
No, come on.
Oh, hey, that's something you could do. Come up with something called Johnny and the Greg. So it would be like a really good dinner with a dessert. It'd be the Johnny and the Greg.
I think we could do something.
That would be
I might
awesome.
name a drink after you guys.
That'll work. That'll work.
I could do.
Yes.
I had a couple. They were doing you're doing old fashions, but it was like had a black cherry in it. I can't remember what it was.
Maraschino cherry.
Oh, it was. I had more than a couple of those when I was there.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And then since it was
they go down really nicely.
Oh, they did.
And they sneak up on you.
And then, well, it was funny because they came out and they're like, "Hey, it's your birthday. You get a dessert." And I'm like, can I skip the dessert cake and stuff and just have another dessert drink from the bar?" So then I had a chocolate martini because they're like, "Yeah, we can do that."
Yeah.
So it was fantastic.
Chocolate martini.
It's one of my things is, it's my wife would probably say, she's like, I'd rather you guys eat dessert first, she has that kind of mentality to it, and I love her to death for it because she makes some awesome desserts.
I'm sure.
Quite simply amazing, and I think I would probably weigh a little bit less if I was not married to her.
Fat and happy.
Absolutely.
That's the way to go.
Absolutely, and it's one of those things where I've had people come up to me and like, you can never trust a skinny chef.
That's
you know what,
very
you're
thought
right
that
with
came
that.
into my mind, and I'm like,
so I'll take that. But like I said, Steve's got a great program with our cocktails and wines, and he's really, really knocking it out of the park, and we're able to get some really interesting ones that are in. Everybody's looking for Blanton's. Blanton's is one of those ones that it's just so hard to come by.
Yep.
And
so whiskey,
for whatever odd reason, he's able to get within our vendors, and sure enough, there's Blanton's coming in. And like as soon as like somebody comes in and hears that we have Blanton's, it's just like you see like 20 people just rush in the door to buy the rest of the bottle, and you're just like,
what's it called?
Blanton's.
Blanton's.
It's like a roundish bottle, and it's funny.
A little horse figure on top with a jockey on it.
I'll keep my eye open.
My uncle that taught me in the ways of steak and bourbon. He's probably going to comment on here because one time I was in middle school, mind you, and he's like, "Well, we can make steaks," and I was like, "Can we have pizza?" And he will not let me live it down years later. But he at his past Christmas party that we were at, he takes me down. He just built a bar in his basement, and he shows me like the bourbon wall. He's like, "You can have anything on there." He's like, "Except the Blanton's. You can't have that." And I was like, "Well, sure, that makes sense." And I said, "Honestly, I just read an article where people were talking about they don't understand the price point for Blanton's. Like they think it's way overpriced." And he's like, "What?" I was like, "Well, yeah." So sure enough, he pours me some Blanton's, and I'm like, "Well, okay, all right." It was good. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not gonna rag on it. I'm not buying a bottle, but
I think it's one of those things that's like each bottle is fairly consistent with the next bottle.
Yeah,
they have a great priced, middle of the road whiskey that's enjoyable.
Yeah, I think I want to say like $275 or $250 retail is what it's at right now. No,
$125.
$125. Okay.
If you go onto the alcohol sites on online and try to buy it off somebody, you're gonna
maybe that's
like
what I saw.
$250, but I believe it's like $125 for a bottle, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But you'll get onto those group chats, and because they're so hard to find right now, people are just jacking up the price on it, and that's why everybody thinks it's such a crazy bottle.
Supply and demand.
It's hard to find right now because with COVID, a lot of the distilleries are having troubles actually getting the bottles made, so they're not able to get their glasses in. So,
is that out of Kentucky? Is it a Kentucky bourbon or is it something else?
Blanton's, I believe it is out of Kentucky.
Okay. That makes sense with the jockey.
I want to say, who was it recently? Maker's Mark. Maker's Mark had a problem with actually getting their bottles in.
Really?
Oh, really?
Because there was a shortage of actual supply to make their glass bottles.
Oh,
so
shit.
they had plenty of product ready to go. They just didn't have the bottles to then ship it.
I've been on that tour. It's a cool tour.
Absolutely. That whole bourbon trail.
Yeah, we've done a couple.
We've talked about it. Yeah.
I think we should, the three of us.
I'm down. If you're cooking every night, I am down.
Absolutely.
And not only that, Chris, I would love to like pick up just one or two little little nuggets of knowledge from you in terms of just cooking, like just the smallest little things out there.
Have you thought about doing like masterclass kind of stuff, where like community classes or anything where people come in?
I have people I'll go in people's houses and cook privately with them, and like I've done, I'll go and actually teach people, or while I'm doing parties, like people will come up and just sit there and watch, and I'll show them. And I've had groups of people actually at Cocos, and we'll invite them to the kitchen like on a Monday or even late at night after we're done with service, and I've done cooking classes right after dinner service.
Oh, I'd be interested in that.
Me too.
So
me too.
It's a lot of fun because everybody gets in there like, wow, you did all this out of this area right here, and it's like, yep. And they're like, what happens when you have the whole restaurant full? I'm like, gets tight and pretty chaotic, but we make it through the best we can. So
I tell you, some of the best food I've ever had is actually off of a food truck. I mean, that's some legit food. I mean, and they're working with limited space.
Yeah.
I
mean, especially there's the Gabriel's, the Mexican taco truck.
Yep.
Right there in Oconomowoc. It's like once a week, and it's just like I really want tacos, and like all of a sudden it's just like, yep, stop.
It's right around
Gabriel's.
Right around the corner from you, right?
It's literally like if we went through like our back patio, and we could literally like walk right back to behind them, and walk right to the truck. So usually we'll send one of the guys. It's like, hey, can you call over and say we'd like 40 tacos, just whatever they got. And they, when we first did it, they were just like, you want 40? You said 40 tacos. Yes. Like, for how many people? It's like, well, there's like 20 here, so yeah, for 2. So, and they're like, can you also throw in some churros with that, please? And they're like, oh, okay. So now I go over there like, chef, how are you? And I'm just like, good. They're like, 40 tacos again? not today, not for everybody. It's just for
today.
me.
I'll take 2.
Okay. I'll just take a couple of them. So
it was funny. I had my son at the comic book shop in Oconomowoc yesterday, and it's around noonish. So it was just he and I. And I was like, "Well, do you want to get lunch?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, well, "Where do you want to go?" He's like, "Well, where can we go?" I'm like, "We're in Oconomowoc. We can go wherever you want. Where do you want to sit down, please?" He's like, "Well, Taco Bell's back there," and I'm like,
Taco Bell.
Like, oh, okay. You sure? You sure that's what? Yep. Okay, and you're just trying to be like, okay, son, let's go. And as soon as we're driving back home, and we drive by Gabriel's, and he goes, "Oh, we should have went to the taco truck." And I'm like, "Yeah, we should have went to the taco
Did you go to the Taco Bell?
Yeah, we just hit the Taco Bell right there, and then he instantly regretted it as we drove by Gabriel's, and I'm like,
yeah, you're hungry 5 minutes later.
Next time, buddy.
Absolutely.
Hey, Chris, everybody has this question that they throw out, like, who, if you could host a dinner party, who would you invite through history? I'm not going to throw that at you. Take away your family, because I think that's going to be the answer. But if you could cook for anybody in the world other than your family, who would you cook for, and what would you cook? Dum dum dum.
Honestly, you were talking about with Gordon Ramsay and all that stuff, but this is actually somebody that he cooked with and grew up with, was actually Marco Pierre White.
Marco Pierre White?
Pierre White.
Pierre White.
Yep. So the two kind of grew up in the culinary industry, and Marco took Gordon Ramsay on, and Gordon was actually working for Marco for a while. And this guy is someone that he didn't have a great growing up, and had a lot of problems and issues and all that kind of stuff, and somebody that truly battled his way through the culinary scene, and actually became one of those people that actually was like one of the forerunners of modern day culinary cuisine, coming up through that, through like Eric Repair and Michelle and all them. And he's just one of those kind of dudes. It's like, guys, like serious, like no bullshit, like straight cut. And you literally he's one of those guys that would like, you would look at him and he would like instill fear in you probably.
Okay.
But his food was phenomenally amazing.
I just saw a picture of him. He has a cigarette.
Yeah. Yeah. And
as he's cooking.
He wrote actually a great book, you know. It's, you know, a little different over there, you know. You know, you have your that's the thing, you know, it's everybody's always like, you know, have your espresso and have your cigarette and let's go. Yep.
Oh.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was him in his younger days though. But he's just like one of those legends that it would just be like, okay, I would love to cook for him and probably just get my ass chewed out for whatever I serve.
Yeah.
But would I dare say that's your Everest, actually?
You could probably almost say that would be my Everest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and you know, it's one of those things that's like, it would be honored for me to actually get chewed out by him.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That'd be like a basketball player getting chewed out by Jordan. Telling him like, this is how you should actually move. This is what you should do. This is, I get it. Yeah.
Because we're always evolving. We're always learning. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know everything that could be, you know, out there. And it's one of those things that you progressively just keep learning. Because if you don't, you just become stagnant.
What does Greg like to say?
Progress is moving. Yep. Progress is a moving target.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey,
So, you know.
Chris, we're 2 hours in. I would, honest to God, I could sit here for another 2.5 hours. We probably might. I'm not sure, but we're gonna
we could, but our listeners would not.
Yes. So
that's totally fine.
We're going we're gonna
into
cut this off.
If you ever want to get me a list, and then
you
can just do chef talk every once in a while.
Oh, Chris, you don't even have to ask. I've already thought of at least 3 extra episodes with you involved. Chris, where can people find you?
Vegetarians and or vegans and chicken of the woods mushrooms.
Yes, absolutely.
Sorry.
Where can people find you, Chris?
I am at Coco Seafood and Steakhouse in downtown Oconomowoc, located at 151 St. Paul Street.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Greg, anything else you got?
No, but you know, typical as you're going throughout your week and you know, you're cooking, you're doing your things. Kind of how we're going to be signing off is that as you're going through and you're talking to people, know your audience. That's important that you know your audience. Verify your sources. And the third and golden one, don't be a douche.
Bingo. The one other thing I wanted to add today, it just popped in my head. If a demigod asks if you're a god, you say
yes.
Yes. All right. For Chris, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much. I had a blast. For Chris, the Greg, this is Johnny. Podcast out, people. Have a terrific day.